no space for me, so you always stood too far away. Feel the things I have to say, take down the walls and see me for who I am. I feel ashamed for what I want because my world didn't feel true enough. Never did you ask me about what I want, and it hurts so much. I once was your little girl, and I knew that you could see me shine. Where did this go? Why did you never again ask me about what I want, what I love, what I feel, what I want, what I...
Hey guys, this is Chauncey with Good Music to Know. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Wiebke, incredibly talented singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer whose music blends indie, jazz, and spoken word with a distinct and soulful touch. She first captured audiences with her debut EP Flow in 2023, followed by her single Scandals in 2024. Now she's back with her highly anticipated album Space in Between, a project that expresses transformation, love, and the rhythms of life. And we are so thrilled to have her here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so let's just dive in. So your album, the new album, Space in Between, it definitely feels like a celebration of self-discovery, empowerment, and also kind of owning your own voice and finding your own voice. Love the first couple of songs. You get this with Woman. I wrote the other song down, What If I Need. I also get a sense of this about finding how to properly communicate your needs. Love the lyrics in that song. Was there a specific moment or experience that pushed you to embrace these themes in your music?
I guess it was just my personal discovery of growing, first of all, growing into myself. Really, I was looking for a way to discover life and let it enter into my space.
Yeah.
The whole album is basically my process of finding that, I guess. Yeah.
Learning to let go and go with the flow. Yeah. And just which is harder to do. Easier said than done, definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a bit of research and I read online some more that it says the opening track, which is Living Freely is Loving Truly, is described as a personal anthem that emerged during a time when you, I think it said light in life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe could you elaborate on the emotions and experiences that led to the creation of that song a bit more?
I think allowing myself to, first of all, feel more freely.
Yeah.
Like feel it all the good and the bad.
Yeah.
It brought so much beauty, but also a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And shadows or whatever you want to call it, but there was a lot of light shed on everything. That made me create this, I guess.
I feel like at times it can be hard for us to express both the good and the bad. I feel like oftentimes you kind of want to suppress anything that's negative, but allowing yourself to feel both of those emotions is definitely a way to work through things and, become better in tune with yourself. So yeah, that's really cool. And then another thing I love about your music is that it definitely has like this deep and emotional lyrical quality. So with that being said, I wanted to ask, is there a particular lyric on the album that's your favorite or that like really, kind of tugs at your heartstrings?
I can't really like pick one as the...
There could be a couple.
Once I heard the line in my head, like, living freely is loving truly. That was one moment where I had like goosebumps in my body. And I felt like, okay, I have to write this song. The song also came to me like when I was sitting on a train and I just heard it in my head. And I was like, I couldn't wait to go home and to figure it out more. Yeah. So that was definitely one line that I just love. And pretty much every line in rhythm also feels like, I don't know, it makes me smile. And I love performing it so much live as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You say that rhythm then and living freely is loving truly. Would those be also maybe two of your favorite songs on the album?
I really can't pick a song because it's like they all feel like my child.
No. Yeah, I definitely understand. So I listened to all your works, including, the first EP and then your single. And so I'm curious, looking back at your, let's say, your early work compared to now, what do you think has changed the most in your, maybe let's say like your approach to songwriting and production?
I think it would be letting people in, both in my personal life, but also in actually creating the songs. And I write like really isolated in my room, which feels beautiful. It's not like but it's beautiful. But you also want to let people breathe with you. It made it such a full and rich experience of creating music.
Yeah. So would you say you allowed yourself to be a bit more vulnerable then with this album and some of the themes that you covered?
For sure. Yeah.
I know you're also an independent artist. So what has been the most maybe rewarding and then also the most difficult, part of navigating the music industry as an independent artist?
Yeah, that's a big question. So what I love about being an independent artist is just really listening to what I want to say and how I want to say it and how I want to bring it into the world with which pace and rhythm. And so that's what I really wanted, especially for this album, just to give it its own space and release it also in a way that feels good to me and true to my heart. And that was a really beautiful part of being an independent artist. Yeah.
And then any challenges, or were there any challenges that come with being an independent artist, or is it mainly just positives at the moment?
It's positive, but I love a team, it's good to let people in again and create like a village around what I want to build and bring into the world. And I'd love that for the next project. I'd love to grow a village.
Very cool. Also, I think it's really impressive, that you're a multi-instrumentalist and a producer and you're a singer-songwriter. So I'm just curious, did you always have an interest in creating every layer of your music, or did this kind of evolve organically or naturally?
I picked it up over time.
Yeah.
I started writing on my guitar in my room when I was a child, probably. And then in my first flat, or the room in the flat that I rented, I had this really small, cozy room, and I sat down with all my instruments and I just started again allowing myself to play. And I have a project with my partner, which is called Imbue, and we started writing and recording things about 5 years ago, and I think we put out our first track 3 years ago. How have you been? And that also elevated my own thinking about production, for example, and adding layers to and depth to making music. Yeah,
very cool. And you mentioned that you've been playing guitar since you were younger. So what got you into music? What started that journey for you?
Definitely my brother. He's about 10 years older than me, 9. And he was always listening to Billy Talent and playing guitar. And I was just like, I really have a strong connection to him, and I really love him. And it's just amazing. When I was a child, I was just always looking up to him. And then he basically invited music into my life.
Who were some of your music inspirations growing up? Or also music inspirations that you could have pulled from while you were creating this album?
When I was really young, Amy Winehouse was my biggest influence.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and then later on, I've always been a big fan of Feist. I love Aurora as a being. She's just amazing. I love her. She inspired my music a lot. And then I also listened to a lot of jazz. I studied jazz a bit for 2 years, and I listened to a lot of things. Yeah.
I have Nora Jones, from listening to some of your stuff. And I was like, this reminds me of a little bit. But I mean, it sounds obviously unapologetically like yourself. But I picked up on it and I was like, I like this. I love the jazz elements.
Oh yeah. I love Nora Jones as well. My mom, I think, had her on in the car when I was young. Yeah.
Same. That's my mom's CD so many times. Her Nora Jones album. Yeah, very cool. Where do you see your music evolving next? So are there any maybe new sounds or creative directions you're excited to explore?
There's a lot of themes I want to explore, thematically.
Yeah.
But also genre-wise, I left it kind of open. I feel like this album has a lot of different genres that come together.
Yeah.
And I feel like the next one might be a more in-depth exploration of a few of those. But I'm not sure in which direction we'll go. But for sure, I want to dive into. I love a good rock feel to things. I think it's important right now as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very cathartic, and we need some catharsis in this day and age. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. So can we expect maybe any shows or gigs coming up in Germany or other places?
Yeah, there will be a spring tour. I'm currently booking, so there are no dates yet, but it will appear on all my socials, wherever. Yeah, there will be shows happening soon. Mm-hmm.
Very, very exciting. And I always like to ask this question, but what do you ultimately hope that listeners take away from listening to your album?
I feel like what I wanted to create with this album is a space for us to feel. I love that. I'd love to invite people in, also into my world, but also into their own world, yep, and help them feel just a bit more in a safe kind of space.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah.
Created a beautiful sonic safe space.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So check, mission achieved. Yeah, well, I mean, those are the majority of the questions that I have, but maybe are there any, final words that you would like to leave the fans and listeners with?
I would like to invite everyone who's watching, listening right now, and also, people who are listening to my music, to take their feelings serious, like really take them serious and let them be, and use your voices and what those emotions want to say as a guide. I would love to hear that. I would love to hear that and see that. And also, maybe one more thing, connect with people and share what you discovered in it. Yeah.
Beautifully said. That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining Session Stories. Huge fan of your music, so I was definitely excited to get you on. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely talking to you.
What I want